Amen.
Welcome
Amen.
to the Forum, your way to keep up with state and community leaders, experts, and local business leaders. This is your chance to hear from and talk to people that affect your life right here in Rim Country. You can express your opinions by calling 474-2427. And remember, the comments and opinions of guests and callers are not necessarily the opinions of KMOG. Welcome to Rim Country Forum.
Good morning and welcome to the Forum. It's Monday. It's 6 minutes after 9 o'clock. I'm Charlie Seraphin. We are pleased to have in studio our guest Gary Morris, chairman of the Gila County Republican Party, and Andy McKinney, the first vice chair of the Gila County Republican Party. We want to thank our sponsors before we begin. The Power of Fives, that's an interesting group. Maybe we'll even mention that this morning. The Dana Law Group, Banner Health, Payson Medical Center, Propane by Pinnacle, or Pinnacle Propane if you prefer. A lot of P's there. Realty Executives Arizona Territory, the Owens Law Firm, and Sunshine Cleaning and Restoration. Good morning and welcome to the Republican Hour, gentlemen. Welcome back. It's a Monday.
Morning, Charlie. And thanks for the prayer. I really appreciate you doing that. We need it.
Yeah. We do, and I always encourage people on their own, any time of the day. It doesn't have to be at 9 o'clock, but when you have a little break, among your other prayers, we ask for a lot of things from God. As a community, I think it's good that we join together and ask for moisture, because it's the one thing that affects absolutely every person, every animal, every living thing in our area. So that's where that is. What do we got today? What's going on in Gila County and Republican happenings?
Well, we've got our upcoming Reagan Day luncheon for August 21st. Congressman Gosar has confirmed his attendance. We're out seeking two other candidates for speakers. And so that will be coming up. These are really a wonderful event. If you really want to catch, particularly from Gosar, what's really happening in Washington, D.C., beyond what the fake news is describing, you'll get that. And we always try to have other speakers, both at the federal level as well as the state or regional level, to join us to give that direct, correct information straight to the audience. So they're always successful. They're held at the casino. So go to GilaGOP.com to purchase tickets and to get further information. That's GilaGOP.com. The Power of Five that you mentioned is interesting. It's Dr. Bob Branch, who was previously a candidate for office. And the Power of Five is seeking Republican members that are interested in running for political office. And if you haven't run before, Power of Five can give you advice, direction, and information, particularly on how to file, etc. So if there's anybody out there that wants to run for office, hasn't done so, was seeking information on how to get it started, go to the Power of Five website, and we'll certainly welcome them into the campaign.
Yeah, that's the Power of Fives with an S.com.
Right.
thepoweroffives.com.
And they're a sponsor. What do you know?
And they're a sponsor of the Forum. You know why they're a sponsor of the Forum?
Because everybody in Rim Country listens to the Forum.
No, that's not the truth. Well, we're not going to go there. But the reason that they do is because back in the day, they know that President Reagan invited me to have lunch at the White House.
And you did.
And I did.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
That's an
awesome.
exceptional thing to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not many can say that.
Not many can say that. Well, actually, quite a few can say that. So can I just tell you, I know this is your time, but I have to tell you this story. Because it's a great story, and I forgot to tell you, for the last half a year. So it was in the 80s, obviously, and I got a telegram, and it said, Nancy and I request the presence of your company for lunch at the White House on such and such a date. And I thought, this is a prank. Right? I mean, wouldn't you think that if you got it? It's
out of the blue?
Yeah, probably. Right out of the blue. It's a crank.
Nope, not me.
It says, call this number.
I'd figure it was legit.
Okay. So it says, call this number to RSVP. So I called the number, and the lady answered the phone, White House. And I was like, okay. And I said, well, I've got this telegram here. And she said, yes, just a moment, please. And she said, I'll put you on with the appointment secretary, which she did. And she said, are you RSVPing? I said, yes. Well, we're going to be excited to see you. Be sure to show up before 8 o'clock in the morning, and we'll send you all the details and blah, blah, blah. And I went, okay. And so I went down the hall to my boss and I said, "Boss, I think I just got invited to lunch at the White House. Can I go?" And he said, "Well, absolutely. That sounds interesting." So I showed up and I waited in line, and we were outside the executive building, and we went in, and we went through this corridor and into a very small theater that held about 100 people, and there were 99 other people there, and myself, and the first person to come out was a member of the cabinet, and the second one was a member of the cabinet, and it was Secretary Reagan and everything, and the last person who came out was Vice President Bush. And each one of them spoke, and the rules were there was no tape recording or video recording, but you could take notes. So you bring your notepad, and you could ask questions. So we got a chance to have firsthand access to every member of the Reagan cabinet and the vice president. Then we went down through a tunnel, came up into the White House, walked by the honor guard, all dressed in their whites, military whites, beautiful young people, I mean, incredible men and women, from all the branches of service, and went into the room and sat down, and I sat down at a table. President Reagan was at the next table, and I always forget this guy's name, but one of his top political advisors, who was from California, I sat next to him, and we had a beautiful luncheon, and it had elements of the luncheon came from all different states, so the main dish was from someplace, and we had a glass of wine from California, and it was great. President Reagan gave his remarks, asked for questions, question and answer with the president, very intimate, small group of people, 100 people is not that many. And then we had photo opportunity. I got a picture, shaking hands with him, and we're making jokes about something because I had encountered him a few times before, and we left. So fast forward now, it's years later, maybe 15 or 20 years later, and I met a man in Dallas, and he said something. He used to work at the White House. I said, "Well, I've been to the White House. I had lunch, with President Reagan at the White House." He said, "Oh, you were part of my program." And I said, "Your program?" He said, "Yes. When I was there, I asked the person next to me, 'Where are you from?' They said, 'Toledo, Ohio. We're from the newspaper there.' And then the person on the other side, 'Where are you from?' 'Well, we're from Kentucky, and we work at a television station in Kentucky.' 'Well, how about you?' 'Well, they were from, Connecticut.' Every state, there were 2 people from each state. And he said, this gentleman told me that President Reagan did that every month of his presidency for 8 years.
Wow.
He invited 2 media people from each state to come to the White House for a briefing with the cabinet. But the rules were nobody from New York City and nobody from the Washington Press Corps.
Wow.
So it was all, and you were talking about
all grassroots.
Grassroots.
Yeah.
So GOSAR is going to come here, and you're going to get a direct report from our congressman who is in Washington. What President Reagan did is he knew the power of his office, so he invited people from small newspapers and small radio stations and television stations, news directors, reporters, anchors, all kinds of media people. But he brought them in, and he spoke to them, and he had his cabinet, no secrets, no surprises, completely transparent. And we wonder why his popularity, even though he was a very conservative president, and you would think that over time, the liberal movement would have been against him, but his popularity was tremendous. I believe a part of it was because of that program, which people don't talk about, because they never made a big deal about it. People like me were so honored to get a chance to meet the president at the White House, and he did it. He did it every single month for 8 years.
That was very smart policy.
That was really smart, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And how useful too for the working press to have that kind of access. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, when you attend our Reagan Day dinner, you'll have direct access to Representative Gosar. He works the crowd before the luncheon, and he always delivers. He hasn't missed a single Lincoln Day or Reagan Day, Lincoln Day March, Reagan Day August, in 8 years that we've been doing this. So he's very active about coming home and visiting with constituents, and you'll very much enjoy that.
And that's a good thing. And you can ask hard questions, because sometimes we have hard questions.
Oh, we have a question and answer period for every speaker, and they're not they're direct. I mean, you just put your question on a card, and we ask the question, and they answer it. Yeah.
Okay. What else? We have a gun raffle. I know that. That's
Andy can do the gun raffle, and then I'll talk about the volunteers.
Okay, yeah, we have a Smith & Wesson military and police model 9mm pistol with magazines. Only 600 tickets will be sold. We're down to under 100 now, so it'll be over before too long. But you can get a hold of me, or you can call Gary at 476-1040. That's 476-1040, and he'll fix you right up.
Yeah, we'll get somebody right out to you. What we're finding with this current administration, people in this region are so upset with what's happening. They're calling us to volunteer for anything to help. And that volunteer group is up to 50 now. So if there's anybody in the audience that really doesn't want to become a precinct committeeman and go to political meetings and just want to help in turning things around with the 2022 election, give me that call to 476-1040. Easy number to remember. We hate the IRS too, but it's a very good number to have for people to remember. And the volunteer group on May 15th, Saturday, we've adopted a stretch of beeline from down by the post office all the way up to Ace Hardware. And on that day, May 15th, Saturday at 9 a.m., starting at Wade and the beeline down by the post office, we're going to clean up the road. So if you're interested in a morning outdoors and enjoying themselves and spending some time with fellow Republicans, give me a call at that. And you should know that we also have the Rim Country Republican Club that meets, and that'll be May 24th at 11 a.m. At the Payson Community Golf Course. And Tea Party coordinates with us as well. They meet each Tuesday at 6 p.m. at the Ponderosa Church up near Home Depot. All Republicans are welcome, and if you're a Democrat thinking about changing your party, come visit with us, and we can do that right on site if you like. So if you have any other questions about the Republican Party, becoming a precinct committeeman, or the raffle, or any activity, feel free to call me at 476-1040.
Mm-hmm. And Charlie, what they're doing down there at the newly renovated golf course is really something, and I think that's why the Rim Country Republican Club has chosen the golf course as a place to hold their meetings from here on out. So if you want to see what the Republican Club is up to, May 24th, 11 a.m. at the golf course would be a good time.
And how are you doing on voter registrations in the county?
Oh, we continue to wipe
Thank
the
you
floor.
for asking that one.
Yeah, we're presently at 16,234 registered voters. Democrats have 9,021. A decade ago, the Democrats were well ahead of us. We were 14 points behind. Today, we're 70+ percent points ahead. So that's what Republicans in the region have been doing.
It's pretty hard. I don't know if you gentlemen saw this or not, but there was an Australian commentator who has been online. You can find it. I don't know which one of the Australian networks he does, but he did an analysis of President Biden's first 100 days. We're going to see whether or not you can do as good a job as he did of summarizing that when we return. But it was really amazing to see someone outside our country who sat back and took video clips and showed a lot of the misspeaks, which are they'd be humorous if they weren't what they were, and talked about the masking situation and how the president has, worn masks in rooms where there was no one or everyone there was vaccinated, or the famous video conference with all the world leaders where he was the only one. And it was really a scathing indictment, not only of this administration, but of America. Yep. And he made reference to what the communist Chinese leaders were thinking, and Kim Jong-un in North Korea, and the Putin in Russia, and how they must be viewing our country right now, given the state of politics here.
And from a Homeland Security perspective, all those dictator characters you're talking about are pushing hard on Biden to see what the response is, and the response right now is pretty weak.
If you'd like to join the program, you have a comment or a rebuttal, our number is 474-2427. We always welcome your calls, 474-2427. It's the Rim Country Forum on a Monday. It's the first Monday of the month, and that means it's the Republican Party Hour, and sponsored by the Republican Club. What's the difference between the Republican Club of Gila County and the Republican Party of Gila County?
The Republican Party is the umbrella and for the entire county, and we, as an executive team, invite the presidents of the other clubs in the Tea Party. There's a club down in Globe called the Cobra Valley Republican Club. They're all invited to our monthly executive board meeting, so we coordinate activities and collaborate. Don't duplicate. We don't fight, and we got a common goal. So that's the difference.
And is the club is the Republican Party a fundraiser as well as the club is a fundraiser?
We all raise funds.
We all raise funds.
Yeah.
Okay, there you go. Answer that question.
Yeah, Charlie, I had an opportunity to speak with the chairman of the executive director of the Arizona Republican Party, and he informed me that in the last election cycle, he was outspent by the Democrats 8-1. So when you mention fundraising, what we do here, on the local level is necessary, but as the lawyers say, it's necessary without being sufficient.
We were fortunate last time. In fact, last two elections, every Republican candidate that we provided funding contributions won their election. And so a combination of donations, contributions financially, and a large voter registration that well exceeds the Democrats is a winning combination.
Has anybody ever done an analysis of the election funding for the last election? How much of that 8-1 difference came from in-state versus out-of-state contributions?
I can't tell you exactly, but I do know that there was a huge wash of money coming in from California to support the Democrat candidates, and the wave of money was so huge, a tsunami of California money, that even in our rural Arizona district, legislative district number 6, where we live, the Democrat candidates were partially funded by the money coming in from California.
And some of it from George Soros as well.
Good morning. Welcome to the forum. Who's on the line?
Guess who? It's me. Hi, guys. Charlie, Gary, and Andy. You guys keep talking about fundraising. That's part of my DNA. It's Inga. Real quick, wanted to add that on our Reagan Day luncheon, we now have programs that we can sell ads in. Thank you, Mr. McKinney.
You bet.
So, conservatives are the ones that spend money. If you have a business that's lagging, hit the people that have the money and will spend it locally. So I'll give Andy a call, and he'll get a hold of me, and we'll get you a nice ad put together in that program. 200 or more people attending who all have money to spend. Thank you. Great show. Love you guys.
Yeah, 746-1040.
Thank you, Inga. Bless you. Have a good day. 25 minutes after 9 o'clock. This is not on your agenda here, but I'm going to ask you another off-the-wall question. I have been
get the same kind of an answer,
okay,
Charlie.
I have been really conscious lately, partly because of listening to you guys and partly because of some of the reading that I've done. But I am really checking, and Inga reminded us that the people who spend money, I'm really checking the labels. And it's difficult in a lot of instances to find products that are not made in China. It really is.
Yeah.
And it's not, heard the economic news this morning. No one's talking about inflation, but the cost of living in America is going up exponentially. Over the recent survey said over 10%. So all goods and services prices are going up under this administration dramatically in such a short period of time.
Yep.
What's going on?
That's what I was about to comment on. I'd really like to have a Democrat out there in the audience call me and explain to me or tell me anything about what Biden is doing is good for the American public. Is there anything out there? And there's a guy out there by the name of Ted that writes a lot of letters to the editor. Ted, I'll welcome your phone call. But Charlie, you're right. For example, gas prices just since January have gone up 71%. The average in Arizona now is $3.06. That's a 20% or so jump in gas prices, and it not only affects you and me as we drive to and from work, but all those groceries and other commodities that are delivered use fuel, and that cost of fuel is transferred into the price of the goods and commodities that you buy at home. Lumber prices, for example, 2x4s are up 300% since January. 300%. What's that going to do to the building and home sales businesses around the state? We're on the verge of, I think, a stall somewhere down the road.
Even the labor unions, wouldn't you think that the labor unions would really be up in arms? Because they've got to be feeling the pinch of it as well. If the material costs are going up, then the orders are going down. It makes it cost prohibitive for a lot of people to build.
Your paycheck value just dropped 20% or whatever it is. And it's crazy. Interest rates are going up. The common reason is they've always used interest rates to control inflation. It tends to have a hold on them. So if you're buying property or getting a car loan, that's going to impact you. And again, that's a hidden tax, money going out that you're going to lose that you previously had. Capital gains taxes are expected to go up to 43% with Biden's proposal. That means at home they're setting for 15 years, you're about to retire, and you're going to sell off and think you're going to get some retirement income. You're going to get hit with 43% taxes going to the government.
That's on top, of course, of your state and local taxes.
Yes, true. Unemployment, the 6.1%. Andy and I have said on the show, we'll never, under this administration, see the 3.5% unemployment levels. It just won't happen. So Biden administration all last month was bragging that we're going to get 978,000 new jobs for last month, and they didn't. They got a dismal 266,000. That's well short of a near million that they were bragging that they were going to get. And so the impact on regulation and COVID and all that is impacting.
Yeah, it's kind of worse than that, though, because there's an underlying thing there.
Yep.
You see the help wanted signs everywhere you go.
Right.
They can't find people to do the work in America. You got 6.1% unemployment, but they're not looking for work.
Yeah, there's two things to add to that. One, these new jobs are not new jobs. It's refill the existing jobs that they're trying to do. The other is the COVID relief package, paying more on unemployment that you can make on the job. I just finished 85 miles on the Arizona Trail, and a 37-year-old guy that he and I would pass one another over the next several days. He's from Oregon, construction worker. His unemployment is just a little less than what he was making as a construction guy, and so he's taking a paid vacation. He's hiking the Arizona Trail on our tab. So that's impacting.
So Biden is paying a guy from Oregon to hike the Arizona Trail.
That's correct.
That's really something, isn't it?
Yeah, it kind of explains. There's a lot of that out there. People are just taking advantage, and they'll ride that out until it ends, and then they'll go back to work. But it's hurting the small businesses.
Yeah. I talked to a lady yesterday, and she said, don't be mad at the millennials. Don't be mad at them for taking advantage of what's been given to them, because it's just common sense that if somebody's going to pay you not to work and you can do things that you enjoy and still get paid, why wouldn't you do that?
Yes,
there are people who enjoy hanging out and working their hobbies and hiking in the wilderness more than doing some kind of drudgery job. Think of that. Amazing.
Yeah, and going back to the chap you were talking about from Australia that analyzed the president's joint session speech. Boy, what a disappointment that was. Biden got between 16 and 24 million viewers, depending on which agency is determining the viewers, for his first speech to the nation. You know what Trump got on his first speech? 47 million.
That's 3 to 1.
Yeah, it was a complete flop.
Well, obviously, there's no relationship between voting and television ratings.
Yeah, you could assume that, but there was just simply no energy or enthusiasm or demonstrated leadership in that speech. And here's something from a CNN reporter out in the street interviewing individuals, asking if they watched it. And this is the quote from the CNN reporter. 2/3 said they watched something else or went to bed. You got the President of the United States, and they went to bed. That tells you a little bit about, I'll call it, the shock realization that they picked the wrong guy. If you don't stay up and watch your president that you properly elected, that says a lot. And for the 100 days into the job, that's the key point for a approval rate of every president for decades. Biden's approval rate was 52%. You know what the Republican or the Democrat crowd did? Oh, that's fantastic. That's a really good rating, etc. Except that when you go back and look at the data in the past, the presentations, it was the third lowest rating since Truman, when they started doing 100-day assessments. Third lowest. But there's some a little bit of evidence on the horizon, a bellwether, if you will, about what might happen in the 2022 elections. Our favorite rhino, Senator Romney, went to a state convention in Utah with 2,100 people attending and got booed off the stage. The other is we had a U.S. representative down Texas sadly died from COVID, and there was a special election in that district. That district gave Trump 3 percentage points into the win. The representative that won that election got 63% of the vote. So just taking that district, those folks down there don't like Democrats at all at present, to get a 63% vote, where previously they only gave Trump 3%. So 2022 is going to be very, very interesting.
And so is the rest of this program, ladies and gentlemen. We got all kinds of facts and statistics coming your way.
Facts and figures.
Yeah, facts and figures. 474-2427. I know you have a question or a comment. We'd like to hear from you. If you want to challenge any of the statistics that were given, or if you'd like to voice your approval for what the Republican Party is doing here in Gila County, Gary Morris and Andy McKinney are ready and willing to answer your questions. 474-2427. It's the Rim Country Forum on KMOG in Payson and KMOGcountry.com. If you're listening all around the world, especially welcome all of our guests listening in Washington, D.C. this morning. It's afternoon where you are, I guess. Yeah, 12:30. So,
what time is it in Paris?
6 hours on that. It's 12:30, 6:30 at night. I think 6:37 to be exact. Good morning. Welcome to the forum. Who's on the line?
This is your Senator, Wendy Rogers. Good morning, gentlemen.
Hi,
hi, Wendy.
Yeah, I'm working out, getting ready to go into the floor session today at 1:30. I just want to reassure the listeners out there that we are not stopping. We are not giving up. We are proceeding with the audit. Don't pay attention to what you hear from the liberal media. Every day is some doomsday tale about how the audit is bad and how it's not being done properly and how the chain of custody is not being held to 100%. We have the best and brightest down at the Coliseum. There will be a week-long break, as I understand it, because of prior scheduled high school graduations, which is fine. And then we will come back, and we have the naysayers running scared. The left is worried sick what we will find. And I really give a shout-out to my colleague and esteemed President Karen Fann. That woman has a backbone of steel. She does not suffer fools lightly. And I tell you, but for such a time as this, she has done yeoman work making sure that this is done right, as she's eager to tell you there's no Yellow Pages book you can open up and find companies to do an audit. I mean, she had to search high and low, interview, call all over the country, and hire this number of companies, 4 or 5 companies under Cyber Ninja to get this job done. And so I'm very confident, and I've heard from all over the country. My phone at the office is lighting up all day. People call in from everywhere because they are looking to us in Arizona as the beacon of truth and leadership and hope to get the truth out. And people ask me all the time, well, what will become of the election if we find rampant corruption? What our hope is that other states follow. The other states in the country that were pivotal, Ohio, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin, that they will step up and do the same thing that we are doing here in Arizona. This is a gargantuan task. I mean, we're talking $2.1 million, and it's a forensic audit. It is not a recount. So people need to understand that. And we will not tire. We will continue to pursue to get the machines, whether or not it requires more subpoenas. We are resolute. And at the state Senate where I serve, there are only 16 Republicans vis-a-vis 14 Democrats. And so we have to really hold together as a caucus. I'm real proud of the bill we got through, my bill for the Second Amendment, which was signed by the governor Friday, which deems ammo shops, gun stores as essential businesses during an emergency. And then my good friend, Kwong Win, state rep from the neighboring district in Prescott, added an amendment to also protect gun manufacturers. And these are the kinds of bills that the governor is signing because he understands that, again, people are looking to our state to lead. And I'm just so proud to be, your senator. I'm working hard, and I'm running for re-election to be your senator again. And irrespective of how the lines get redrawn, I will always represent you.
Senator, one of the new things that's another roadblock in the audit process is the sheriff of Maricopa County this morning complained that the request for the modems is a security issue for him. What's your view on that?
He is a Democrat, and we will surmount whatever roadblocks he puts up, and we will press forward. I am not deterred. We are not deterred. I get questions like that, Gary, and I forward them to President Fann, and she answers them, or I call her, or I see her on the floor. And the first thing she does is she says, a lot of this, Wendy, is misinformation designed to try to derail us. And she said, you just have to tell everyone that we will go forward day by day. We are plodding forward. You are going to hear all these kinds of distractions, and it shows that they're getting desperate. And we just have to have faith, have to keep persevering, and I would say, on the face of it, don't worry about it.
All right. Well, thank you very much for calling in. I always enjoy chatting with you.
Absolutely, and I'll be happy to be on your show anytime. Thanks, Charlie.
You bet.
Thanks, Senator.
Thank you. Talk to you soon.
Yeah. And, Charlie, we've been talking earlier about having Congressman Gosar come and speak to us, and how important it is to get the straight information right from the horse's mouth, so to speak. And Colonel Rogers has been up in Payson on speaking engagements frequently. Most recently, I was able to see her at the Rim Country Republican Club meeting for last month. She came to the golf course and spoke to us at the Rim Country Republican Club meeting. Very generous with her time. You know, the state government is in session, and she was still able to take time away and come up here to speak to us. It's terrific.
Well, we get calls on a fairly regular basis from Senator Rogers, and I know she's listening to the program. And it's not just about things political. We had a program on water in Payson, and she sent a text right after and said, "That was fascinating. I learned so much." So It's nice that we have KMOGcountry.com so people can listen on their computers or on their smartphones wherever they are in the world. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that I've encouraged is for people who have friends or relatives outside the area to tell them to listen to the program, especially when you guys are on, because you'll give them a chance to hear what the local people are saying about the issues that affect them the most.
Mm-hmm. And Charlie, I appreciate the charming innocence with which you say that water issues are not political.
Well, the program itself was not. It was, for me, it was an education. I knew nothing about the Payson water table and how it is situated, and how in the granite it's different than most places, because the aquifer in most places is in sand, and here it's in stone. And so they have 19 wells just in Payson proper that they check on a weekly basis to measure the depth of the aquifer.
How are they doing?
They're doing awesome. And it says, even if we were, God forbid, if we were to lose the C. Cragen reservoir, that we have a minimum of a 2-year supply for the town, which is, I think that's special. That's good. And that was apolitical. Now, I know there's some political things there, and I got the little jab. It's all good. I can take
Charlie, I'm the vice mayor for the town of Star Valley, which was created as a town over a water issue. So,
yeah.
There you go. And how's your water doing?
We are just chock-a-block with water.
There you go. Excellent.
All right, so the audit. Despite multiple and ongoing roadblocks put up by Democrats, and only by Democrats.
What are they afraid we're going to find out?
The truth. And the way Senator Fan describes it, we're going to find the truth, whatever it is. It may be that it was a legitimate, proper election, and we may find it's major problems, and whatever the outcome is the outcome, and we're going to do it in a fair manner. So currently it's underway. They're using the same protocol that the Secretary of State office produced to do a standard election night ballot count. That process is underway. What's modified is who they're counting. A signature check was used on the early. The law allows a 5% test of the early ballot mailed in on the signatures. The signatures on the outside of the envelope gets separated in the process, so the actual ballot has no name on it. And what they found in that 5% of 1.2 million is 22% of the signatures on the mail-in ballots were invalid. Either they weren't a registered voter and in the system, or it was clearly a forged signature. That's 22% of 1.2 million.
And Mr. Chairman,
let me correct that. 22% of the mail-in ballots. I don't know exactly what that number is, but it's probably up in the neighborhood of 40% or so. They are manually hand counting the hard copy ballots, and they're checking the vote on 4 different candidates: Trump and Biden, McSally and Kelly. and it's very detailed process. It's being videotaped, and it's very well controlled. And the Secretary of State has on-site observers, and she's getting a benefit that they didn't provide. The Democrats didn't provide Republicans that wanted to watch the election night ballots. Technology is being used. There's special cameras and testing to check the ballot for fibers so that we don't get any counterfeit ballots through the system. They're checking the print ink to make sure that it's the ink used by the proper printer company. They're checking the print style. And for example, other states have found counterfeit ballots from China that have bamboo fibers in them. And so the so-called bamboo conspiracy is what the Democrats are using now. So that testing is underway. 4 different technology companies with special expertise in this kind of forensic analysis of the machines are underway. There's an argument over passwords. Why would a public agency, the Maricopa County Recorder's Office, allow a third party, Dominion machines, to have the only passwords to get into those machines? It's our election. We should own everything about that election. And so I expect there's going to be a ongoing fight over getting those passwords to do the proper forensic test on the machines. If you want to watch the process, there's a live feed going on every day that they're working, and that's One America News Network, or their website is oann.com. So you as a citizen will have the opportunity to view a counting audit process that wasn't provided to you by Democrats on election night in November.
We got a call. Good morning. Welcome to the forum. Who's on the line?
This is Gus Bill, and if I'm on very thin ice, I will apologize ahead of time. You can take the R away after my name if you've already upset you. Lately on Hannity, which I watch, he's not very far left, a young lady named Caitlyn Jenner, and I believe formerly Bruce Jenner, who I believe is an Olympian winner, was on a couple of times. I watched her. She is running for governor of California. Now, she's Republican, and they currently have a Democrat who is, I won't describe on the radio, but anyway, she's a very interesting person. I watched her 2 or 3 times on the show, and she's extremely interesting and positive and has some tremendous ideas. And I think having a Republican governor in California would certainly not do any harm to our state or our area. Oh, I'll hang up and listen. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bill.
All right, Bill.
God bless you. Have a good day.
And I've watched the interview with Sean Hannity also. Pretty impressive interview. But California has an interesting low threshold on who can be a candidate. You only have to get a few hundred signatures. So we can expect a couple dozen or more candidates going into the primary. Caitlyn is certainly interesting. She speaks well of the Republican principles and philosophy. She did a very good interview.
And a transgender Republican at that. Good morning. Welcome to the forum. Who's on the line?
Hi, it's Bobby.
Hi, Bobby.
I have got a question about the ballots. I don't quite understand it. Maybe one of you guys do. But when we send our ballots in, we put them in an envelope, and it specifically says there that you must have your signature on there, and that's what's actually ballot, what qualifies the ballot. So what I don't get is at the polling places where they're counted the ballots there, they took them out of the envelopes and then they ran them through the machine. Now, did they theoretically put them back in the envelope? Because it seemed like it'd be almost impossible to check the signatures at that point.
I can't answer that question. I'd have to do some research on it. Sorry.
All right, yeah, that's what I had a little discussion with a liberal who was telling me that there's no way that they can count the ballots properly because they're taken out of the envelope.
Yeah. It was my understanding that all the mail-in ballots, even though they were hand-delivered to the polling place, did not go through inserting the ballot at the ballot or the poll location, but were put into a separate container and then counted that evening.
All right.
Yeah, Bobby, that's a really good question, and we don't know the answer to that. What he's asking obviously is if you separate the ballot from the envelope, how do you? And you say, well, the envelope is illegitimate. How do you know which ballot that was associated with?
Yeah,
that's correct.
They are separated, and after they're separated, you can't tell which goes with what. What they will be able to determine is that there are a certain number of signatures that are not valid, but they can't match those signatures with a particular ballot.
Yeah. One of the things that Karen Fan that I read is that she said that this is not an attempt to overturn the election. This is an attempt to find, and she hesitates to use the word fraud, but to find any irregularities and then allow the state legislature to take whatever steps are necessary to correct the process so that going forward, everything is copacetic.
Yeah. And
so we would assume that with a problem with the signatures would be corrected by legislation and be in place by the time we go to the 2022 election. It's quite appropriate and proper.
And one of the things, have they already done this? I don't know, but I think they've already done something to make it illegal for dead people to vote, or is it still legal for dead people to vote?
It's still perfectly legal.
Yeah, still legal at the moment. There's legislation that would remove those folks after 4 no-shows at elections, and that's still likely to come back up in committee.
Yeah, that's a sticky point with me, Charlie. Actually, right here in Payson, there's an ongoing effort with the Republican apparatus to correct anomalies. We have people that are going door to door and asking, for instance, "Hello, is this Mr. and Mrs. Jones?" Yes, it is. Did you vote in the last election? Yes, we did. Also, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, listed at this address are 17 other people. Mm-hmm. Are these people reside with you? No, we've never heard of those. We're finding people that received ballots that are dead. We are finding people that have received ballots at a particular address that do not live there. The degree of fraud that is coming to light right here in Payson is just shocking.
And Charlie, as we go to close out, I think we'd like to go quickly into talking about, well, Biden has been talking about Jim Crow days and accusing the Republican Party of being long, 100-year racists, etc. Let's quickly review the Republican history on blacks and civil rights, and we'll start off with.
1860, the Republican Party is founded primarily to free the slaves. The Civil War, immediately after Lincoln's coming into office, the Civil War broke out, started, of course, by the Democrats. In battle deaths, 620,000 people lost their lives in battle. If you count civilian deaths, people that died due to other causes associated with the war, 1 million Americans died to free the slaves, which we did, and the Democrats have never forgiven the Republicans because the Republicans freed their slaves.
And Charlie, if we applied today's population to the amount of deaths, it would have been 6.2 million people today would have died supporting black civil rights and eliminating slavery.
Of course,
that's a big commitment.
Yeah, and of course, most of those people that died on the side of the Federals were white Republicans who gave their lives to free the slaves. 13th Amendment officially freed the slaves. 14th Amendment made sure that blacks were counted as citizens. The 15th Amendment, the rights of the citizens shall not be denied on account of race or color. All three of those amendments were opposed root and branch by the Democrat Party. By the way, there was not a single Republican that owned a single slave. Every single slave in the United States of America that was owned by a member of the Democrat Party. I'm sorry, I'm a little upset about that. 1940, the Republican Party was first called to end all of racial discrimination and segregation in the military. Right now, today, the Democrat Party is fostering segregation on college campuses, forcing people to live in one color, one racial dormitory. 1952, President Eisenhower, Supreme Court under President Eisenhower ruled on Brown versus Board of Education, which obliterated the segregated schools that the Democrats had set up for 100 years specifically to ruin the lives of every single black student.
And there's a lot more, and I know you can find it if you get a hold of these gentlemen at the Gila County Republican Party. We're out of time today. We're going to a couple of spots here to finish up the show, and we'll be back after this. 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 We'll be back.